Gemini. Welcome to WIP Wednesday, episode number 123. Let's see if y'all can even see me and hear me because the program that we use ran through some updates before we started the show today, and it's been acting all types of wild. So can y'all see me and hear me? I want to make sure that we're actually live right now. Technology is being technology today. It's technologying, shall we say. Hi, Miss Bernadine. I can at least see the chat, so that's good. Hi, Mickey's in the house from Pennsylvania. Good. Linda says she can see me now, so that's good. Hopefully you can hear me too. Fingers crossed. Okay, great. Glenda, thank you. She says, I can see you and hear you. Okay, great. So for today's episode, I realized that I hadn't shared with you all what I bought at QuiltCon. I went to QuiltCon 2024 2 weeks ago in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I don't usually shop a lot at these shows just because I have so much of everything. But I did go ahead and grab a couple little items, so I wanted to share those with y'all. For those of you that maybe have never been to a quilt show and you don't really know what goes on, it's a huge, well, the show that I went to was a huge modern quilting display. I think they mentioned the first night that they had like 600 quilts, which is wild. When we looked through them all, we're like, it feels like a lot, but it didn't feel like 600. I don't know. But they're gorgeous quilts. And then you also have a ton of vendors that are present. So you can go booth by booth, but it's all on a big open floor and checking out what new items are out, new patterns, new rulers, new tools, new notions, new fabric, all the goodies. So we did that, and you definitely need more than one day, I think, to walk the full floor. Let's go ahead and give them the over-the-shoulder camera shot so I can start off with my first fabric bundle that I picked up. So this was from my friends over at Ruby Star Society. I know all of the designers there. The girls are awesome, and when I tell you that booth had a line that wrapped around, every day we were just like, oh, it's a long line, we'll come back. And we'd keep walking the floor, and then we'd go back, and we're just like, the line is super long. And then I think the last day we were just like, well, let's just wait in line. The last day that we were there, at least, we were just like, let's just wait in line. And it was a long wait, but it was worth it because my friends and I, my two friends, Laura and Laura, that were with me, we all ended up getting some goodies from there. So this is a spooky mix. There are 15 fat quarters in here. And I mean, y'all know I love Halloween. I love all the spooky fabrics. And these are cute because they're not just Halloween. They have like eyes in the dark, super cute. This nice darker floral. I love these geometric type of funky prints that you can use. For me, like this, I would use it as a solid. If I needed a dark gray-ish color, you know, I would use this even though it has pops of orange, of black, of pink, and all that. This one has some black cats, the little spooky eyes again, but on a purple background. And so a lot of the prints are repeated, but they're on different color backgrounds. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this, in case y'all were wondering. I know everybody always asks, what are you going to do with it? I have no idea. I'm one of those. I feel like there's two types of quilters, especially when we're looking up for fabric. It's people who go out to buy fabric with a project in mind, and then the rest of us are like, this is cute. Do I know what I'm going to use it for? No, but I know I'll figure it out someday. And that is me, for sure. So I'm going to wrap this back up because I definitely want this to stay together. I have no idea what I'll use this for, but I still have plenty of months to work on something really cute. Look at that. That same dark floral like that with that mustard background is just gorgeous. Love, love, love. Okay, so I picked that one up from the Ruby Star booth. Then I had been seeing these around and I wanted to grab one from the booth. We bought this from Stitch Supply Co. And it's a quilt binding spool. Yes, I know we don't actually need to bind our quilt binding, but I thought it would be super cute. And to have it, look how fun. Glittery and everything, and there are two slits right here. So you could slip in your binding and then you wrap it around here so that if you're someone who kind of works on your quilt block separately and then you make your binding and you just like to have it stashed away somewhere instead of rolling it up on itself, you know, you can roll it up on this cute little quilt binding spool. It says it contains one spool, and we were pretty excited to see that this says that this little acrylic spool will hold enough 2.5-inch wide binding to complete a king size quilt. So if you were wondering how much you could fit on here rolled up, you can see that the notch cutouts down here are pretty deep from the top, and so I'm pretty sure you can get, you know, a ton there. So plenty enough for a king size quilt, and I ain't making no king size quilt, so we'll be good in this department. So I picked up that to add to my little gadget and tool stuff. Then I went by my friend Gudrun's booth. If y'all don't know Gudrun, definitely check out her stuff. She runs GE Designs, and she is the creator of the stripology rulers that I love, love, love. And so I went by her booth. They were pretty much sold out of everything, okay? But I did go ahead and pick up a couple of her patterns. I have a ton of her books and some other patterns as well. If you recall from last summer, I made my daughter a summer camp quilt before she left to summer camp in Dominican Republic. And a lot of people saw me posting videos and tips and stuff that I was doing with that quilt project. And that quilt came from one of her Stripology Mixology 2 books. It was from Stripology Mixology 2. And so I got one of her quilts, or that design that we chose, my daughter chose it, and she chose the fabrics too. It was gorgeous. But these are just individual patterns that are made with, this one says 10-inch squares, and this one is made from 10-inch squares and 2.5-inch strips. So I picked up a couple of her patterns. Definitely check her stuff out. I love that her patterns don't require you to have the stripology rulers, but they make it a lot easier and a lot faster. So I was glad to pick those up. One of the bundles that I wanted to grab was this Ravel fabric bundle. Do y'all recall the fabric that I used from eBond? I used it last year in a bunch of different bag projects and everything, and I'm down to like a couple pieces of fabric and some scraps of it. Well, eBond for Free Spirit Fabrics has a new collection called Ravel, and I went by the booth to grab it, and of course they were sold out, but they did have it on the GE Designs website. And I'm just going to take this out of here. This is 15 half-yard cuts of the full collection. So I love it. They're just so bold, modern, graffiti-ish kind of, I mean, look at this text print. I've never seen a text print like that that's in cursive and everything like on top of itself. Love it. Look at this. Y'all know I love a good pop of color. Look at this. I haven't even had a chance to look through this yet. So we are looking at it together. I saw the collection on display in the quilt that they had at the booth, but I didn't get a chance to like look at yardage, you know, a good open chunk of each one of the designs. This is like stamped, bold, stenciled block lettering. I love this. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Yes, Tamara says like Root. Love this Ravel one. Yes, Root was the name of the previous collection, the one that I had bought before. And it was fun actually to see at QuiltCon because my everyday purse, it's not in here. I think it's out in the kitchen. But my everyday purse is my Cocoa crossbody sling that I made out of the Root fabric collection. And so I'd be coming down on the escalator and some girls were like, I love that backpack. You know, I love your bag. And they'd have like another bag with another print from that same collection. And so that was a lot of fun to see, you know, how people use the same fabrics and the same fabric collection to create different projects. Look how, oh my gosh, how cute. Again, those same block letters, but look, it really looks like crayon scribbles on here. How fun is that? Oh, I love this. And these make great fabrics for the outside of, for me, say like a bag or a quilt. I mean, I would obviously need more and I would coordinate it with other prints and stuff or solids or blenders if I was going to make a big quilt. But I like to use these types of really graphic fabrics for my bags. Oh, gorgeous colors. I mean, the sense of color is amazing on here. So a lot of colors. Here we get into like these darkers, grays, and more neutrals, black with gray. Really, really pretty. So this collection again is called Ravel, and it's by eBond for Free Spirit Fabrics. And I got this half-yard bundle. Oh my gosh, how cute! From gedesigns.com. Look at that text, but it has like crayon, and it's so textured looking. It really looks like how crayons look on fabric. I love that. So I'm excited to chomp into this. Chop, chop, chop. Cut, cut, cut. I know a lot of people, when you buy fabrics that you really love, you're scared to cut into them. I don't have that problem. I'm just like, what is the first project that I can cut these up for? And that's how I work with fabrics that I end up, you know, that I really like, that I end up getting. Awesome. Oh, Nancy says, I was able to buy both collections from GE Designs. I love them. Awesome. Yes, Zena, she says, I would love that bold color for a bag lining. All of those, like if you use the darker one so you know your stuff wouldn't get so dirty so quick on the outside, and then a fun pop of color from one of those prints on the inside lining would be awesome. So I definitely plan to use some of that. Brenda's asking me, do I use the Stripology rulers? I do. I love them. I have every single one in every size. I think the only one I don't have is that last one that came out. That's like 1/8 inch increments or something. That one I don't have, but all the other ones I do. The mini, the XL, the squared. I think that's it. I think that's it that I have at least. All right. Oh, Claudia says, I love that bundle. I have it. Awesome. Did you get it at QuiltCon, Claudia? I saw Claudia at QuiltCon. Shopping, shopping, shopping. All right, where was I? We did the fabric, that. Okay, so then I had gone by my friend Latifah's booth. And if you're not familiar with her stuff, I did a clammy quilt club couple years ago, several years ago, maybe 2021, I think we launched it. And I still teach it. It's an online quilt club that features her clammy ruler. And I teach you how to make 5 different blocks using that curved template ruler that she designed. And we work through what? Um, Drunkard's Path quilt blocks, and we make mini quilts for each one. Drunkard's Path, then I'm trying to look on my mini walls here. The Drunkard's block, then we do a half a circle. We do full inset circles, um, the clamshell, and something else. I can't even remember. There's so many ways that you can use her rulers. And so she had this, one of these quilts. I can't remember if it was this exact one, but she had some of these quilts on display in her booth. And she had then come out. So if y'all know, the clammy ruler usually comes in like 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch. Those are like the main sizes, at least the ones that we sold when we had the kit going with the box. She came out with last year, I think it was for QuiltCon or right around that time, the 16-inch or 16-inch clammy or 18-inch clammy and a 24-inch. I don't know, like 2 huge sizes like that. And so then she came up with these quilts that feature those larger templates, the really big ones. And so she said, you know, they're really expensive. The bigger chunk of acrylic that you're buying and creating rulers for, they become super expensive. I think she said it was something like over $200 to get both of them in the big sizes. And so she included in here some templates. So if you don't have the big clammy, you can just use the templates that are in here, which I'm fine using paper templates too. My friend Laura got the same pattern, but she already has the 2 big clammies. And so I thought, look how bold and striking this quilt is. It's called the Glare quilt. Okay, if you're not familiar with her templates with Latifah, it's the business name is Latifah Saafir Studios. You can definitely check out her clammies. You can check out my Clammy Quilt Club where I teach you how to do all that. If you're a quilter that you're kind of looking to elevate your piecing skills, curves is an amazing way to go. Once you get it down, and I share with you different tips in that quilt club, we make the different blocks and patterns using pins, no pins, glue basting, what else? Pins, no pins, glue basting. And I think we do like a lot of pins and a little bit of pins. So there's lots of different techniques. And I find that a lot of people that struggle with curves, like we would make with the clammy ruler, it's usually because they haven't found which one of those techniques works best for them. And so we walk you through all that. But I thought this was super fun. Oh, Tamara says that clammy club was fun. I did 4 out of 5 of the mini quilts and learned curves, no problem. Awesome. Yes, thank you, Michelle. She says the orange peel. That was the 5th one I was missing. She says, I love that clammy quilt club course too. And it's still available. So if anybody wants to sign up for it, you have access to all the video lessons and all the information and all that there too. And I think we still have some clammy rulers. 10-inch probably is the main size we have. Yeah. Because I think I did all the video lessons based on me using the 10-inch one. Okay. All right, awesome. Oh, who was that was saying? Oh, Brenda says, I'm planning to get my certification in June, her stripology certification. I just got the last one at AQS in Daytona Beach. Awesome. That sounds great. Okay, good. All right, then I have one little thing here, and then I still have a couple more things. So I went by and talked to Cindy, who is the owner of Riley Blake Designs, if y'all don't know who she is. And she was showing me her new little seam ripper. It says it's a patented ergonomic design. And I was like, what is this little thing? Let me check it out. And so it wraps around the pointer, your middle finger, allowing for expert control. So it has like this flat area here where the curve of this part can go over. Some people were using it on their pointer like this. Some people put it on their middle finger. But look how little it is. And so it allows you, instead of like an extending handle to the seam ripper, you're really right up on there to get under if you're kind of ripping every 4th or 5th stitch like I often tell students to do to remove stitches quickly. Where's my little quilt block? Here we go. I had a little quilt block here that I was going to use as an example to show y'all how you would use a little seam ripper like this. And so let me just see what it says back here. It says, years in the making, Cindy, the owner of Riley Blake Designs, has developed an ergonomic, super sharp seam ripper, making it the best little unpicker. So if I were to take apart this seam here, and it's just like a straight seam, I usually will pop every 4th or 5th seam. And so and my face is far from this. I'm like a good 2 feet from seeing the stitches. Luckily, I have good eyesight, but I can see them easily and I can slide this in there, okay? If you're somebody who, does it the other way, if you're opening up a longer seam from this side, like from underneath, you could do that. But like if we're trying to get in there to unpick something like this, I was just like, this little thing is kind of nifty. And it's called what? Cindy Seam Ripper, the best little unpicker. So I know some of the distributors are starting to carry this now, so you may see this like at your favorite local quilt shop. You can ask for them to carry it too. And it's by Riley Blake Design. So if you already go to a quilt shop or something that orders Riley Blake fabrics, they can easily get this. So I popped like every couple, fourth or fifth stitch or something along the one side of it. Then I'll flip it over, and on the back side, I will slip this underneath, and then I just pull the full bobbin thread. And that's it. It's literally already separated. Then you would just go in here, and rip off, just pull off the last little bits of that thread. But it's way easier doing it that way than like stretching it, popping a few more, stretching it, and going the full way. Okay? Zena says, that's so tiny, I would probably lose it in my sewing studio. I do like that. I mean, it's little, but it's kind of chunky too. You can throw it in one of those little bins that holds your plastic clips and stuff. And then it comes with the little rubber, and it's pretty thick, the little rubber cover to put it on there. I thought that was pretty cool, huh? And it has this flat, but it also has kind of an indentation here for you to put your thumb on it. And you can put it over with this finger or the middle finger. I think the middle finger for me feels a little bit more comfy right there. Just so I can kind of grab it, and do that. Yes. Oh, Winless Original says, I was just thinking I'd put some bright tape on it to keep track of it. It's super cute. And look how close. I mean, that was really easy to actually do. So really, really cute. Just another little new tool and gadget to share with y'all. So I thought I would show you all that. Let me move this out the way. And then the last things that I got are, this story is happy and sad at the same time. Happy because if y'all know from me using my fancy tailor's clapper, I got this one last year from Modern American Vintage at QuiltCon last year. And where was it last year? Atlanta. Yeah, I think we were in Atlanta last year. I can never keep track of it. I've been going to these things for like 7 years. Okay, so I had got this one. Well, I went to get another one. And I did, along with some other goodies. I'll show you what I got. This I had seen, they had like baskets at the front. This guy, Chris, is like an amazing woodworker, okay? I mean, the tools are just top notch. The quality is just amazing. This set that I selected is called the Everett. It says spalted sycamore handles on walnut blades. So Modern Vintage American is the name of the company. This, oh my, if y'all could feel this, it's light, but so smooth. This is a point turner. So, we're pushing things down, we flip things right side out. We can push this into the corner to help get the points out. So nice. I have a good long handle seam ripper here, and this has a little cover just for the little pointy part. Okay, look how beautiful. I mean, the woodworking on this is impeccable. So the seam ripper, and then a hair marker. And if you've taken any of my quilting classes or clubs, you know that I often talk about using a hair marker to mark your quilting lines if you're going to be doing some basic straight stitching. So whether we're doing cross hatching, kind of like that Vera Bradley style, where you have diagonal stitching going one way and then the stitches come across it the other way. A lot of times we do that for our bags. It just adds great texture. And this is a quick and easy way to mark those lines with a hair marker. When I tell you how nice this feels in my hand, and I have large hands, usually stuff like this is kind of like a little bit smaller. It just has such a good feel to it. So I was glad to pick up this that 3-piece set. And I think I got this on the second day. The first day, my friends and we always go by the booth to see what other stuff he has. And so we got this seam pressing tool that is to help press your seams open or push them to the side. Sometimes when we're like at a quilt retreat and maybe you don't want to be getting up and moving all the time for every single patchwork piece that you sew to go to the ironing board, it helps to have like a little mat right there. And if you're doing a lot of assembly line style patchwork, this helps to have a tool like this where you can come to the front side, you know, and kind of press that seam. You can press it open, press it to the side. And so I picked up one of these. This was on the first night, but I love the way that the grain on the wood looks. Oh, anyway, amazing. And then, my friends, the sad part is that there is nothing else in this bag because guess what? TSA took my clapper. They took my clapper. They took my clapper. When I tell you I was mad, I was so mad. It ran through my carry-on because I didn't check luggage. I never do. And the guy says, "You have something in there?" And I told my friend Laura, I was like, "Oh, surely it's the seam ripper." But I'm like, the blade is not longer than 4 inches. I'm like, "Oh, I have a seam ripper in there, some wooden tools, whatever." The guy goes and takes it out, and he goes like this. It was another clapper with a way better design than this. It was like checkered. It was gorgeous with like inset, like an inset checkered panel. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was amazing. Somebody has it now. It's probably sitting in a bin at TSA in Raleigh. Who knows? And so he goes like this, and he's like, "This would be considered a bat." He's like, "I'm not saying that you would hit somebody over the head." I'm like, I have a laptop I can hit somebody over the head with. We have all kinds of stuff in our carry-ons that we could use. And so I was telling him, like, we were here for a quilting show. You're about to have hundreds of these coming through TSA, you know? He didn't care. We were trying to explain to him. I'm like, you know, when you sew, like we put the iron on it and we put this on it and it has to have that weight. So like I kept telling him, like, I know you see the price on it. I know you see how much it was. He's like, "This is an expensive chunk of wood." And he's like, I'm sorry. I just can't let it go through. Oh, I was so mad. But luckily I still have one. And I'm going to holler at my boy Chris so I can get another one too. Zena says he kept it to give it to his wife, probably. Who knows? But then I heard from other friends who were traveling the next day. And that's the thing, that we left one day before the show ended. So I'm probably the first one that was going through TSA with the clapper. Because, I mean, hundreds of people bought them. And then one of my friends had posted on her Instagram when she got back and said, oh, that they pulled her clapper, but they let her go through with it, you know? And I was just like, oh, they didn't let me. She said she like explained it to them, and but it was a girl too, and she was a little bit more understanding of what fine craftsmanship I was trying to bring home. Yeah, no, they were telling me like if I wanted to go back out in line and recheck a I had a flight to catch. We're not doing all of that. So anyway, I will get another one. No big deal. Just know, if you're going to buy something like this with this weight to it, mail it, check a bag, do something. But yeah. Anywho, that was my sad story. My saddest story of QuiltCon, y'all. But otherwise, I'm very happy with all my goodies and was glad that I could at least get these other ones through. Oh, I was mad. Big mad, y'all. But all right. That, I think, is all for the QuiltCon stuff. Next, I just have 2 questions here that I pulled because I knew I was going to be running my mouth for a good bit. Next, before we get to the questions, I'm actually I just wanted to share something that we recently talked about in my latest sewing course on the T-shirt, the Jalie Laurent class. And I wanted to mention this because I know not everybody that signed up for the class logs in to watch all the live question and answer sessions. But I wanted to say that I did a demo in the last one. So for those of you that signed up for the course, I had a great question. I can't remember from who, but one of the students, and she had asked and said, like, her nicest t-shirts that fit her the best and are like the comfiest, they have this like covered binding on the inside portion of the back neckline. And so I showed how to do that in that demo. So it's really like another bonus video that I added into the class. So I wanted to make sure that those of you that are in the course know that you can log in and watch the live Q&A so that you can watch that. So on that little one, I did it in a contrasting fabric so y'all could see what I was talking about. But then on this t-shirt that I finished up, you can see that I use the same fabric as the self fabric, and look how pretty that looks. It's just like an added binding. And I just go from shoulder seam to shoulder seam along the back. I don't bother to do it along the front because I did my zigzag stitching. And this was all done on a sewing machine. So just know that if you are in the class, maybe you haven't had a chance to watch the video lessons yet. There's, I think, 20 videos up. All the videos have been posted, and then we did go ahead and do a little demo on this in the last live question and answer session. So if you want to kind of elevate your knits a little bit more and learn how to do this part and finish that off, you can check that out in case you missed it, okay? Right? MQ52 says you could have stabbed someone with the point turner too. I'm saying they just were not trying to listen to me. Ooh, TSA. I'm over it, y'all. It's been 2 weeks. Now I felt comfortable enough to share the story without crying. My clapper. Okay. Oh, great. You see, there's a bunch of you on here. Glenda says, I haven't started the class yet, but I can't wait. And Tamara says she had missed the lives, but she will watch them. Great. That's exactly what I wanted to do, was just to give y'all the heads up that they are there in case you want to check that out. Okay. Linda's asking, does it add structure? It adds a little bit of structure to the back. I mean, since the fabrics that we're working with are pretty light, it adds a little bit, and it just helps keep that seam allowance down and flat so it's not lifting up on you. A lot of times if you are making custom clothing, you can insert the tag right in there. So it's not like coming out of the seam allowance or adding any additional bulk that can kind of lift up and go one way or the other. But this allows everything to kind of lie flat, and it just feels nice on the skin in the back of your neck, okay? The only thing with this is that you have to be okay with the stitching showing because it's basically top stitch. It's like, it's binding. So we add that binding to the back, and then you end up with a line of stitching from shoulder to shoulder along the back, which is fine. As long as you use a thread color that blends in, I think it looks really, really good. Okay. Okay, great. So now let me move on to answering just 2 questions that I got. One question here says, how are you hemming these stretchy fabrics on your home sewing machine? And so, of course, this is stuff that I cover in my garment sewing classes when I teach a project that uses stretchy fabrics. But I know not everybody takes my classes, so I wanted to share this with y'all here on a WIP Wednesday episode. Let me get this going. So I went ahead and took just a piece of solid black cotton spandex. This is just cotton and spandex fabric. You might see it under cotton lycra. It depends, you know, what the fiber content is, the trademark name and stuff for it. But this is very, very common fabric to find, even in quilt shops. A lot of the fabric manufacturers will make and use basically the same print designs on a stretchy fabric so that you can use it for garments. And so that's what this is, just in solid black, okay? All right, so I have turned it under like if this would be a hem. Pretend this is a t-shirt, and here's the folded up edge. I know it's solid black, but bear with me here because we're gonna use white thread so you can see what I'm talking about. Now, there's a ton of different ways that you can hem stretchy knit fabrics on a home sewing machine. One of my favorite ways to do it is by using a triple straight stitch. However, on this little machine and some, you know, more kind of entry level sewing machines may not have as many options as like my bigger machine has back here. More expensive machines usually have, you know, more decorative stitches, more throat space, more capability, a wider width range that you can select from for stitching. And so I'm going to show you both. A simple one. Say you had a machine that only has like 5 to 10 different types of decorative stitches. As long as it has a zigzag stitch capability that you can adjust the stitch width and length on, you can do something like this, okay? And I know somebody told me in my last live Q&A for my class, they were like, oh, that little slanted zigzag for hemming was genius. So here's what we do. You go to whatever your key is. You know, some machines have it up here, some have a little card, check your manual, whatever it is. Select the zigzag. For me, it's stitch number 7, okay? On my machine, the zigzag defaults to 5mm stitch width and 1.5mm stitch length. What does that look like? Let me show you. You can't just select on your machine a stitch and just stitch it out if you don't know what it looks like yet, okay? So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna stitch it exactly like it was. So I went to my machine, I selected zigzag, and here's what it's doing. I'm gonna stop right there because we're gonna be here all day. What does that 5 and that 1.5 mean? Let me show you how to interpret that on your own machine. So don't ever hem nothing like this, y'all. This is way too close together. Yes, it will preserve the stretch, but OMG, you are adding so much thread there. It's going to stick out a ton, and you can see it start to ripple because we are adding so much more thread into this short amount of space. So if you do that along a long hem, I mean, the amount of thread going in there is going to end up stretching out the hem, whether it's the sleeve hem or the bottom hem of your garment, a ton, okay? So the 5, I said 5 mm stitch width. That means from zig to zag this way, going horizontally as we're looking at it this way, is 5 mm, this way to this way, okay? The 1.5 is 1.5 millimeters in stitch length. That means the distance in between as it goes zigging and zagging. That 1.5 is how much are the feed dogs pulling through? Barely anything. And that's why we get all these zigzag stitches super, super close together. Not a fan, okay? For some other stuff, this might work, but don't think that you can just go in here and select, oh, she said a zigzag, let me go there and do that. Don't do it, okay? Let's change it up. If we understand now how the stitch width number goes side to side, I know I don't want it to be that tall, like that long that way and this way. I want it to be a little bit more slanted. As long as it's not super straight, it's still going to be able to give us some good stretch in here. So instead of 5, let's go down to 2. Let's try it there. And of course, the best way to do this is by testing these stitches out on your machine. On scrap fabric that's doubled up, always do it doubled up, and then test it out to see what it looks like. All right, so we went 2.0. So now I know the zig and the zag are not going to be that separate. Like it won't be that pronounced of a zigzag stitch. And then the stitch width is the space in between each one. And I had already said there's way too much thread going into this little space. It's starting to bubble up on me. Let's lengthen this. So we're going to go 2.5. So I dropped the stitch width from 5 to 2. And I upped the stitch length from 1.5 to 2.5. Let's see what type of a difference we get now here. And these are just ways that you can like learn to troubleshoot what exactly you are doing on your machine and how the machine reacts so that you can end up with the best results for your project, okay? So I'm sure you saw that was a lot faster to stitch, right? Because the stitch length is longer. We're skipping a bunch of space. I haven't even pressed this, and look how flat. Look how bubbly this side is, and look how flat that is. So do you see what I mean by there's way too much thread going into this limited space, this zigging, zagging, like with barely scooting forward along the fabric. Again, I have not even pressed this yet, and it's already lying so nice and flat. And I did it in white thread so that y'all can see how it looks, but if you use black thread on this black fabric, you wouldn't even see it. And then you wouldn't need a cover stitch. Nothing fancy, okay? And then look at this. Look at the stretch that I'm able to still preserve because I have those zigzag stitches. Slanted. I could even stand to go narrower. But I think that instead of just having a stitch that is just fully straight across, I think that looks so cute. If you did white or gray thread on lighter fabrics, that would just look amazing. And it still gives the feel of a straight line of stitching, but still preserving the stretch in the fabric, okay? So that is how I would recommend you set up your machine to hem some stretchy knits. Now, the other stitch that I said was a triple straight stitch, okay? And I'll show you how to do it on this machine, but when I use that hemming option, I always do it on my bigger machine because I can make the stitch length longer there, whereas here I cannot. So let me show you. Triple straight stitch looks like, and a lot of machines will have it. You don't have to have a fancy machine to have it. You know, this machine has like 20 stitches or something, and it's this one right here, number 4. So it looks like 3 dashes. It's like 3 vertical dashes, 3 vertical dashes, 3 vertical dashes. I don't know why it looks like that because the stitch does not look anything like that, y'all. Okay? So look for something that looks like that on your machine, and then I'm going to show you how it looks. If you don't like the look of that wobbly back and forth zigzag, and you just want it to look like a straight stitch, but still be good for a hem, so that you can preserve the straight stitch, or preserve the stretch in the fabric, I should say, then do that one. But we said it was the 4 on mine, right? So I'm going to select stitch number 4. And stitch number 4 defaults on my machine to a 3.5 millimeter stitch width, okay, which just means the needle position because this is a straight stitch. 3.5 on my machine means that the needle is going right down the middle, okay? and then the stitch length defaults to 2.5. Well, I know from past experience that I like my triple straight stitch to be longer. I feel like the stitch definition is better. It doesn't kind of pull on the fabric so much, and so I want to make this part, the length of the stitch, longer. Oops, not that one, this one. And so look what happens when I go to press up. Do you hear that? The machine is telling me, please stop. We do not have any longer option for you to select from. So 2.5 is the longest I can go on this machine for a triple straight stitch, whereas on my big machine, I will go up to 4.0, 3.5. So if you can increase your triple straight stitch length to 3.5 or 4.0, try that out. I think you'll like it because I know I do, okay? On this one, and I'll show you what this looks like. It'll show up really well too because of the white thread on black fabric. But what it looks like is a straight stitch times 3. Like imagine you layered 3 stitches on top of each other. So what you cannot do with this option of a stitch is push or pull, because the machine goes forward to take a stitch, back over that same stitch, and then forward on top of it again before it jumps forward and takes the next stitch. So it goes front, then the next stitch, front, back, front, then the next stitch, front, back, front, okay? So you will see that the fabric kind of goes back and forth, back and forth. So you have to be able to just guide it, but not push or pull, because the feed dogs need to be able to kick it back in the opposite direction and then spit it forward again as the machine stitches, okay? But it's a great way to use a really bold thread if you want a pop of color, or if you're using maybe a funky variegated thread or a thread that changes color in different lengths of the color change, you know. If you want something really, really funky to do on a hem just so that the stitching really pops and it looks like a bold top stitch, or if you meant to use a thicker thread that will show up a little bit more but you didn't have a thicker thread, using a stitch like that will make it look like the thread is thicker because it's such a bold stitch. So let me zoom this or put this in focus here for y'all. So do you see? They look like little beads almost, because each stitch is 3 times over itself before it jumps to the next one. And then you can see that you're still able to preserve that stretch, okay? For me, I don't like the look on a garment. I mean, I can use this for all types of decorative stitching, but I don't like the way that this looks with such a short stitch length. When I do this on my other machines and use 3.5 or 4 millimeter straight stitch or triple straight stitch length, you see that nice elongated stitch, and it really, really just looks nice and fine. I just love the way that it looks. But again, look for it to see if you have it on your sewing machine, that decorative stitch, and then play around with the settings to see if you can lengthen the stitch length on that, okay? And then I just have one other question. Hopefully that helps for anybody looking to hem. It doesn't even have to be a garment. If you're working with stretchy fabrics, try these tips out, okay? I know that they will help you. All right, and then the last question I had was, how do you get creases out of large pieces of fabric? So I'm thinking quilt backing, and we'll have to add the link to this later. Can you go ahead and put them on my face? Change the front camera angle, Brandon. And the front camera. I'm going to show y'all this because when I think big pieces of fabric, this is what I think of: quilt backings, right? Not a lot of us have a huge counter space where we can just be ironing a huge, quilt backing 3-4.5 yards of fabric. Even when you have to piece it together, it's a huge, huge chunk. And usually we don't want it to have any wrinkles or creases in it, so we don't end up with puckers or pleats in the back of our quilts, right? Whether we're quilting it on a long arm or on a sit-down machine for free motion quilting. So in recent years, I started steaming my quilt backings, and this works great for any large chunk of fabric. If you have a table large enough to press your fabric with steam or without, or to starch, perfect. But if you don't have a big enough space to spread it out on with a surface that's safe for the heat and the steam of the iron, a handheld steamer is going to be your best bet. And I got this one off Amazon a couple years ago, and it works like a dream. It has a little water reservoir, granted. When I'm doing a huge, huge piece, I usually end up filling this thing up 2 or 3 times, but it's no big deal. Then I just run it, whoop, 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 and I have a long arm here. So I will drape the backing over top of the bars on the front of my long arm, and I literally just go up and down like this. Every single crease is out. Done and done. So I thought I would share that tip for those of you that probably have a handheld steamer in your closet somewhere, and maybe you never thought to use it for your fabrics or for your quilt backings or large chunks of fabric. Take it out because it comes in super, super handy. And we'll go ahead and after the show, I'll add the link, my Amazon affiliate link, to that steamer that I have that works great. It's been going strong for years now. And we'll put the link since I told y'all the technology was acting a fool today and we weren't able to get that all set up before we went live. Okay. Now let me see. I have a question coming in here from Celia. She's asking, does that triple straight stitch work well for sewing down the surged or zigzagged neckband? Thanks for the fantastic Jalie Laurent class. I'm almost finished with my pullover. Yay! I'm so glad that you're enjoying that class. And she's asking about the triple straight stitch to stitch down the neckline. It will work if you can do it a little bit longer than mine. Because the stitch length is so short on this machine for the triple straight stitch, I would rather do that kind of slanted zigzag that we just did. That works better because there's not that much thread going into that space. So be careful that you don't have either too tight of a zigzag or too short of a triple straight stitch where it ends up, when you top stitch the neckline, where it ends up stretching it out. Because again, if you have way too much thread going in that area, it's going to keep pulling it and pulling it. All right. But yes, if you're able to lengthen it a little bit more, that would look great. And I'm trying to think. On this one, I did it. This has a triple straight stitch where I stitched down the neckline down, and I did a triple straight stitch to hold it down, but I did it on my other machine. That's why you don't see like any stretching or puckering or anything like that, because the stitch length was longer. So we're still getting a bunch of thread buildup because it's 3 stitches in one, but because I spaced them out, it allows the neckline still to lie flat, at least around the part where the neckband is installed, okay? Yes, Carol says, wow, I have a steamer. I never thought to use it for that. You see, that's what I'm here for, Carol, to give you little side tips that maybe you didn't think about. Great. I'm glad that you now have that to use. That's great that you already have one. What else? Oh, awesome. Tamara says the same thing. I have a nice steamer. Never thought to steam the large pieces of fabric. Great idea. It works great, y'all. You will not go back. Trust me. All right. Okay, and that is that. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed seeing the little things that I ended up getting at QuiltCon. And I answered a couple questions, and I think that's going to be it. I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your week, that you find some time to make something for yourself, maybe, hopefully. And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye, everybody.